Hey, we finished up a little bit in Matthew, so we're actually going to continue now in John. So you can come on over there with me. We're going to be in John chapter 7, and we're going to read 2 through 10. The reason we skip 1, we can read it, but it actually goes in context to a section we read several chapters ago about Jesus' whereabouts. Remember, it's not in chronological order. That's what we kind of pick up in 2. And then Luke 9:51 through 56 also gives us some insight on Jesus' travels. So we're going to start with John, and then we'll jump on over to Luke 9. You'll also see, and I'll have in your notes that you're seeing now, I have up on the screen Zechariah 14, and it'll be 16 through 21. This is just for context about the Feast of Tabernacles. So you can come over here and read this on your own. But it's about every able body who is called to attend the Feast of Tabernacles and what it is and what shall happen if you don't attend. So let's jump on over here. So Jesus he's walking through Galilee, right? He didn't walk through Judea because the Jews sought to kill him. That's verse 1. So starting here in verse 2. Now the Jews' Feast of Tabernacles was at hand. His brothers therefore said to him, Depart from here and go into Judea, that your disciples also may see the works that you are doing. For no one does anything in secret while he himself seeks to be known openly. If you do these things, show yourself to the world, for even his brothers did not believe him. Then Jesus said to them, My time has not yet come, but your time is always ready. The world cannot hate you, but it hates me because I testify of its works are evil. That its works are evil. You go up to this feast. I am not yet going up to the feast, for my time has not yet fully come. When he had said these things to them, he remained in Galilee. Verse 10, But when his brothers had gone up, he also then went up to the feast, not openly, but as it were in secret. So we know that he's headed there. And then in verse 11, he's already there. Okay, so there's this in-between time, this travel, right? We know he's heading there, then he's there. So this is where we jump on over to Luke 9. And starting in verse 51 through 56, this is going to give us that time in between where Jesus was. So coming here to 51. Now it came to pass that when the time had come for him to be received up, that he steadfastly set his face to go towards Jerusalem, and sent messengers before his face. As they went, they entered a village of Samaritans to prepare for him. But they did not receive him, because his face was set for the journey to Jerusalem. And when his disciples James and John saw this, they said, Lord, do you want us to command fire to come down from heaven and consume them, just as Elijah did? But he turned and rebuked them and said, You do not know what manner of spirit you are of. For the Son of Man did not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them. And they went on to another village. So there's a couple things happening here. Number 1, these are his true brothers, right? So James and Jude, Jesus's actual half brothers, right? And so because they only share a mom. But these are his brothers. Not even his brothers believed him, right? They're challenging him, saying, like, if you're really the king, which is the king that's going to fulfill the Feast of Tabernacles, right? Somebody who's here, of which this manner who preaches openly, why would you want to hide? So why don't you just come on down to the Feast of Tabernacles? That's what they're saying there in John 7 that we were reading. And so that's what they're kind of challenging him, but Jesus is like, this is not my time. So it's not that Jesus isn't there to fulfill the Feast of Tabernacles. It's just not his time yet, right? So he's there to fulfill the Feast of Passover. That's what he's there for, right? He points out that the world hates him because he points out its sin, right? And so it can't hate you, right? It hates me because I point out their evil, right? There in John chapter 7 as well. And so I'm just following up on my notes here. He is not going in response to their challenge. So his brothers challenged him, right? If you want to be out in the open, then go, right? Go do what you're supposed to do. And he tells them, no, it's not yet my time. Once that passes, we'll jump back over to 7. See this last line here. You go up to this feast. I am not yet going to this feast, for my time has not yet fully come. Okay. When he said these things to them, he remained in Galilee. Okay, but then his brothers left. So right next here, but when his brothers went, then he went up to the feast, right? But not openly. He went in secret. And so he did that on purpose. So he wasn't going in response to their challenge, okay? He was going in secret. Why? Because he is an able-bodied Jew. He has to follow the law, which means he has to be present at the Feast of Tabernacles, right? If he is able to go. And that's where you're going to get some more information over in Zechariah 14, as I had previously stated. And so this is going to be the last Feast of Tabernacles before his death, okay? And so this marks the last 6 months of Jesus's life. Okay, so we have a timeline here about where we're at, in his life and his ministry. Okay, the Samaritans, as we know, were very hostile against the Jews, and often they would allow Jews to pass through leaving Jerusalem, okay, but not going to Jerusalem. And so when Jesus had sent messengers through, right, through a Samaritan village, it says over here in Luke 9, okay, so to prepare for them, okay, they rejected him. They would not receive him. They would not allow him to pass. And so this is why his disciples are responding so aggressively. Do you want us to, bring down fire and burn them, And so they're very passionate about this. And Jesus is saying, no, that is not the manner of spirit of which we come, right? And so we're going to go another way. That's why it says, and they went on to another village. And so Jesus chose to take a different path, right? And so he didn't have to pass through there. But this is the vengeance that the disciples were seeking on Jesus's behalf, because the Samaritans refused to receive him as he passed through. And so that wraps up that little bit of section there. Again, it's in your notes down below, those reference verses. And so I will see you guys again soon.